evening, everybody, and welcome into your Victory Sunday, Victory Monday, Victory Tuesday. I don't know which day of the week it is that you are watching this, but it is a victory day nonetheless. Welcome into your Browns post-game show, Geo Network 216. I'm Jacob. We got Eddie. We got Casey. We got Mikey P. We got Roger down in the corner. We are brought to you, as always, by our friends over at Homage Apparel. Go into the link down in the description down below. Check out Homage. Go to our Twitter, as we're about to do yet another Victory Monday t-shirt giveaway on Monday, so you have to wait until then before we put that up. But wow, what a day. I'll go around the horn. Gentlemen, how are you all feeling tonight?
Fan-fucking-tastic. I don't know if it's a quote or not, but I'm getting it now because what a great win. That might be the best win since the franchise has come back, outside of the playoff win. That might be their best win, and that's their best regular season win, I should say, because they were down 2 scores after getting within a score. And they didn't give up. And they just came down like, all right, cool, let's go do this. And they did it. There was no nonsense. There tried to be a little bit of nonsense, but they were able to overcome that. The holding call in the end zone, they still held them to 3. And just like, okay. And then it was just great. Great win. I get to chug a lot of beer this week on all of our platform shows. So that's awesome. I can't be more ecstatic if I tried.
That was a smoke him if you got him game right there. That right there was the most fun you're gonna have with your pants on. You know, watching the end of that game. There were moments, it was highs and lows. Didn't know if it was gonna be able to pull it off, but man, you kind of felt it at the end that it was going to go your way, and starting to get used to that feeling. That feeling was very foreign. You know, when we came across it against the Colts, it felt like, man, this is a game we never win, and then you win that game. To have it go this way in Baltimore's place, man, that was sweet. That's one we're going to hold on to for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Signature game. It was a signature game for Kevin Stefanski. It was a defining game for Deshaun Watson. I said that on Dog Chug. Ross gave me some kickback on it, but it defined him as a quarterback, how he's going to lead this franchise, man. And he stepped up. I have a lot of crow to eat. I didn't think he was going to do it. Honestly, I didn't think I don't know, man. I just didn't believe in him. And he had to show me, and boy, he showed me today. I started watching it late at 2:45, so I'm fresh off the victory. A little more than you guys, man. It just ended for me about 40 minutes ago. Yeah. No, and I didn't see anything. I kept 0 dark 30 the whole time till I got home, done with baseball. And, man, what a game. What a game, man. It just changed my whole outlook on the season. And Deshaun Watson and his future at the Cleveland Browns. He really, really stepped up today and was that franchise leader we needed. He earned every nickel today.
I experienced every emotion possible today in one game. 3 hours of just every emotion on the spectrum. And I know we'll get into the game as a breakdown. Something that stood out to me, though, is – this team is different than any team I've seen in the last any Browns team that I can recall since probably the 80s when I was a little kid. This team is resilient. Like, we may not always be the most talented, but I will tell you one thing. I have not seen this team, and we've seen teams in the past before. They get down 2 scores, and you were just like, it's over. Like, they're not coming back. It's a wrap. It's just going to happen. And it felt that way even after that Odell touchdown. Like, it was like, oh, man, coming out of the half, you're like, such a gut punch. But man, this team, man, just they get back off the carpet. Like, they get knocked down, they get back up, crap stuff happens to them. I mean, I feel like the Ravens on that one series where they scored a touchdown ran 9 plays from inside the 10 with all those penalties.
They ran 7.
I was like, the 7, yeah. It was like, yeah. I was like, how many plays did they run inside the 10 here?
Yeah. And
like, historically, like, you don't win games like that. You don't turn the ball over. You don't have that many penalties and pull games out like that. Just to see that and experience that, it's like, this is what Steelers fans feel like.
Yeah.
When they're like, they shouldn't have had no business winning that game, and you win the game. So I'm enjoying it today. That's all I gotta say.
So I put the title on this one on this post game show pretty easily, just that the Browns are Super Bowl contenders, and I think that's what you 100% learned today. Because, and I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant here, as everybody probably can imagine, as one of the biggest Kevin Stefanski supporters that there have been on the interwebs. This is now twice that Kevin Stefanski has faced the definitive best team in the NFL, down significant players. First time he was down his quarterback. This time he's down his top 3 offensive tackles. No Nick Chubb. Deshaun Watson starts as poorly as he possibly could have. And you still won this game. Kevin Stefanski now is 32-21 as an NFL head coach in Cleveland, which what do you want? What more do you want? Like, you have now twice, he did it against San Francisco. That was the best team in the NFL coming in. I understand they lost 3 in a row. Well, they beat the ever-loving hell out of a good Jacksonville team today. So keep that in mind that happened. He goes in against Baltimore, falls down 14-0, falls down 17-3, down 31-17, misses an extra point to tie it up. And his team never quit. Absolutely never quit. It did not matter what the adversity in front of them was. It doesn't matter who the opponent in front of them is. Outside of one game, I kind of felt like they quit on the Ravens a little bit in that game. Outside of that game, they have been in absolutely every game. This is not a team that, like, the team you saw today doesn't do what they did today if they didn't believe in their coach, if they didn't believe in what is being preached, Monday through Saturday on the practice field, in the meeting rooms. This is a well-coached team. This is a team that loves playing together. This is a team that's talented enough to beat absolutely anyone. No one wanted to give them a chance this week. I mean, I picked them, but it was more of a, like, I think they're going to shock it, because they're going to go out and they're going to shove. If you bet on the Browns today, you got almost a touchdown if you bet the spread. They were plus 6.5 going into this game. They did not have a shot by anybody to beat San Francisco. And when I say anybody, I always mean like national, people outside of Cleveland, because of course everybody in Cleveland is going to feel like there's a way they can win, if and that sort of thing. And I feel like this is where you should look at it. And Kevin Stefanski right now is the coach of the year to me. He's the coach of the year. Myles Garrett is the defensive player of the year for me right now, here through 10 games. Obviously still Sunday Night Football and Monday Night Football to go. But you can't tell me a team has gone through more adversity than the Cleveland Browns in terms of injuries by significant contributors. Nick Chubb out since week 2. Deshaun Watson has missed a month or so, depending on how you add it. No Jack Conklin outside of a couple of series. No Jedrick Wills in this game. Jerron Christian had a hell of a game, man. He had a hell of a game against the team that leads the league in sacks. And don't get me wrong, Watson got sacked a couple of times. But this team, 4. This team goes out there and it did not matter. I was talking to Casey during the game. When he fumbles that ball and it's 2nd and 19, the Browns don't recover from that. Except Deshaun Watson threw a 17-yard dart to Amari Cooper, and they recovered from that. And they went down, and the kicker that missed an extra point was money. Just nailed it. Kevin Stefanski is coaching his absolute ass off, and right now, the Cleveland Browns are Super Bowl contenders. 81%. I'll pass it to everybody else, and we can start going through the offense and everything like that. I'll start with Eddie, and we'll just do a little circle around there. And you guys, we'll start with offense, go defense, whatever the hell you guys want to talk about. I don't give a shit. It's your show. But the New York Times model, I just wrote this for Browns Wire and threw it out there right now. After their win, the Browns have an 81% chance to make the postseason.
Wow, very doable. And I'm with you on both of your awards that you just said. And I was thinking that. And I didn't get to tweet a lot about after the Browns game because I went to a family thing and I was driving. So I didn't tweet a lot. But the whole time I'm thinking, I'm like, man, like all these Kevin Stefanski people, now what can they do to say, what did he do? Did he have a couple calls that I wish he wouldn't have? Sure. That's probably every week. That's every week. That's every coach. I would have liked to see Hawkins kick that ball at the end of the half. Ended up not mattering. But you mentioned when he missed the extra point, right? Pick 6. Finally, Greg Newsome gets the pick and returns to the house. Goes nuts. Everyone, it's crazy. Misses the kick, but in old Browns times, it's been like, oh, okay, that's it. There was our chance. We blew it. They're going to score a touchdown here and go up 8 and whatever. Nope. They just went back out. All right, defense, we're going to do the same thing we just did. Hopefully get the pick 6, but we're going to not let them score. We're going to give the ball back to the offense in good position. Did that. That play on 3rd down where Lamar was scrambling, he didn't really have a chance because the Darius Smith got to him, and then Myles Garrett rushed his ass off to him to finish it off. Well short of the line, and they had to punt it away, and it was just fantastic. And But Kevin Stefanski, like you said, all of these adversities. Deshaun Watson's supposed to be the savior. We traded all this for him, and everyone was pointing that out when he was 1 of 9 to start the game. I didn't see that afterwards from a lot of people. They didn't give him the credit. But that's also because of Kevin Stefanski. Hasn't had him for all this time. Conklin's been out since the first couple series. Chubb since week 2. You just lose Jedrick Wills. You have a makeshift offensive line that played pretty damn well for the most part. Joel Bitonio at left tackle, I would love to see that permanently. He was cracking people and left and right. The offensive line played great outside of a few sacks here and there, but that's a great defensive front for the Ravens. And I thought they handled business, and that's credit to Stefanski. What's the word? Gallying.
Resilient? What?
Resilient.
Resilient, something like that. Whatever. They rallied around each other and around the coach. The coach gets them ready all week, and we hear he doesn't have leadership and all this stuff. It says, according to who? Us from our couches that we get to watch from people that are actually inside the building say, no, that's not true. They love Kevin. Oh, okay.
Don't forget. No Juan Thornhill or Denzel Ward for a lot of this game too.
That is true. Mike Ford stepped his game up and made some plays. He
Ford.
laid the lumber on Lamar and then picked him off right after that. Sadly, the offense couldn't do anything with it, but he laid the lumber on him, clean hit that the Ravens got mad about, and then he picked him off the very next play. Couldn't have asked for better.
For me, it's all about the fight, man. Just the fight they put up, because this did not go according to script or according to anyone's plans. The way I saw it playing out was way different than it played out. I thought it was going to be a low-scoring affair, and turns out to be one of the higher-scoring games of the weekend. Yeah. And they found a way to win. They just find a way. Like you said, in game you lose Denzel. You lose Juan Thornhill. Next guy up, you just find a way. And they continue to do that. And that's not by coincidence. That's not by chance. It's something we're seeing week in and week out. They just keep finding a way. They're playing their literal 4th and 5th string offensive tackles against the Ravens. Find a way. And when this happens time and time again, you have to point this back to the coach. There is a culture being put in place that is actually taking hold. We haven't seen this before because we keep rotating these coaches in and out 2-3 years, 1 year, 2-3 years, 1 year. But you're seeing what happens when you actually have stability, and they found a way, man. I did not see it playing out the way it played out, and it's a beautiful thing because we've waited for this forever to actually see a culture take hold. And now that you're there, and the talent's there, so when you have the talent and then you combine that with the fight, they're going to be in games, man. It doesn't have to be pretty either.
Nope.
The game starts off with a pick 6, for Christ's sakes. Like, that's game, set, match in years past,
Mm-hmm.
But we didn't know the defense was going to get that back later. They would get their own, you know what I mean? Like, they just evened out, and they just stayed with it. They stayed in the pocket and dodged punches and took a couple haymakers, and you're down 31-17 in the 4th quarter. How many times have we seen a team tap out? Never didn't flinch, man. They threw a couple haymakers back and connected. The next thing you know, they got the ball, the clock ticking down, and they made their way down the field, and it just it was just I had to go for a walk after that shit. I did. I
was like racing like fast as hell. Like
I felt bad for my family, man. I had to walk down and they don't know what kind of nervous energy I'm holding in me. And I didn't want to just unload it all on them. So I put on the shoes, man. And I got a mile in real quick and kind of just process everything. And this is the expectation now, man. This team's going to be in every single game. And that's the mark of a good team, good leadership, and it's all coming together. And it doesn't have to be pretty, because I thought they were going to have to play error-free football to win today. No. They just got to stay with it, man. Stay the course, and they have enough talent to get it done. And
play Cleveland Browns football.
That's what it is, man. You said it. That's what it is now. It's just that fight, man. They got that dog in them. X-rays came back positive for K9 in the chest cavity. So gentlemen, I'm gonna have to jump off here. That's all. I had a couple minutes. Thanks for letting me jump on with you, and I'll see you guys this week.
Love you, brother.
Hey, Casey.
My big key to the game is, how does Baltimore always end up beating us? Yeah, Lamar Jackson, but Mark Andrews. I'm a defensive guy. I go back to Tom Darden. I go back to Clarence Scott. I go back to Felix Wright. Dang gosh. When was the last time we had a safety? Grant Delpit, number 22. Mm-hmm. He slipped. A chunk of those 44 yards that he had on those 2 catches, Delpit slipped. And that's where he got the chunk of that 44 is on one play.
Yep.
Grant Delpit shut him down. And that was a key today. He could not. Lamar Jackson loves him as a safety valve, and he was not available today because of number 22. And then how about Eddie? You talked about it. Browns fans are typical thinking when he muffed the punt. I'm thinking, and here we go. He's, again, and they stayed with it. They were resilient, and they played as a team. And that goes back to what you were saying to start with Jacob Roach's leadership and the message that Kevin Stefanski is bringing to that locker room. It's apparent that they believe it in all three phases of the game. They had a blocked field goal, huge play on special teams. Just all three phases of the game, like Casey said, it wasn't. I thought they had to play perfect, and they apparently just have to stay the course, man. What a great win! I'm on fire, man. Go ahead, Mikey.
Yeah, and something interesting, and I said this. I'm at the bar, and I'm standing next to my buddy, and we're talking about this, and I was like, man, normally I would say after that missed extra point, man, this is game, set, match. But I was like, in some ways, that missed extra point might come back to help us. And I started thinking, I was like, Baltimore now has a 1-point lead, so when they get the ball back, their play calling is going to be more of a. They're going to start running their close out the game offense versus their being aggressive. I mean, it's 31-31. They're going to need to get in field goal position or try to get a touchdown. They were kind of basic and very conservative on that last series, and we got the ball back. And I was like, it definitely worked to our favor in that case. And when we got the ball back, man, I mean, the fumble, like after Watson got sacked and the ball came out, we recovered it. I was like 2nd and 19. Yep. And then he throws that dart to Cooper. And now you got 3rd and 2. And I know a lot of people were saying, out on that 3rd and 2, they ran the ball for the first down. They were probably saying, where was that in Seattle? But I was like, that was a big first down. And then something happened on that forward run where all the offensive linemen, the entire team pushed it. I was like, that right there shows you that a team cares and is fighting their ass off for this win. And I'm telling you, sometimes there's moments throughout a game or moments throughout a season where a team comes together. I don't know when it happened for this team. It's probably been before this week, but this team, no matter what this year, like, they just don't give up and they fight their ass off. And maybe it happened last year, with all the stuff they went through last year. And then after Chubb going down early this season, but it's that next man up mentality. Mike Ford came in and played like a freaking maniac, like had a big pick. Like, it took me a second I was like, who is that guy? Who's that at corner? I was like, oh shit, that's Mike Ford, the special teams guy. And I mean, just in the locker room, like afterwards, you see Stefanski, and I've been critical of Stefanski at times. And just to kind of speak on that field goal attempt, I found out from somebody that was at the game at that kicking early on in that end of the stadium. They said they were everything from like 55 and beyond was way short kicking that way. So
on the side that they almost kicked at halftime,
right? The 60-yarder. So that kind of explained more to why they didn't end up kicking that 60-yarder. He was kicking from about 55, and it was almost short. So 60 is probably pushing it down at that end of the field. And but just the way that locker room, like you could see they're hanging on every word for Kevin. And I've been, like I said, I've been critical at times of him, but he's coached his ass off, and he's got this team believing. And I'm excited for the next 10 games or 8 games. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So for me, man, like I said to everybody, I was looking at some stats. I was off to the side, but let me go over some of the let's go over some of the stats real quick, because I like to do that in these post game just to kind of put everything in perspective when it comes to, like, the total everything. So let me get over here, bring this bad boy up. Let's get your box team stats. Okay, team stats here. So 24 first downs for the Browns, 17 for the Ravens, 10 through the air for Cleveland, 9 for Baltimore through the air, 12. That's where I wanted to go with the rushing attack here in just a second. The Browns ran 75 plays to the Ravens 50, 373 total yards to the Ravens 306. Both had 10 drives. Browns had 5 yards per play. The Ravens had 6.1. Both were about 200 yards passing net-wise. 170. There it is. 178 rushing yards for the Cleveland Browns with their 4th and 5th offensive tackle on the field. They and keep this in mind, 4.9 yards per carry. That's the really important part when it comes to that. They end up with 10 penalties for 55 yards, 2 turnovers, 2 forced turnovers. They win the time of possession by nearly 10 minutes. That's where I kind of wanted to go. Hats off to Jerome Ford this week. Jerome Ford very not getting enough 100 yards on 17 carries, 107 yards for Jerome Ford. And it was like you could tell it early, man. You could tell it early, like on the first couple of drives and stuff. You could tell like he was running in a better way than he had been running. So he gets 17 for 107 with 6.3 per carry. And he looked patient. He looked smart. There was a lot of plays we saw last week where he would like bounce it outside when the hole was right there in front of him, and he bounced it outside for like a 2-yard gain as opposed to probably a 6 or 7-yard gain up the middle. I know Mac the Buffalo on Twitter had highlighted a few of those plays about where he needed to be better. And I thought was a really good highlight because it really was happening. Because that's the thing I've had an issue with Ford when he was coming into the NFL was his vision. I wasn't sure he had NFL level vision, and he struggled with that at times this year. But he was decisive as a runner. There was not a lot of east and west running, and a lot of north and south, and a lot of like, hey, I'm going to run into some congestion. There's a lot of guys here in the middle, the linebackers, the defensive line. There's a lot of guys. I don't care. And he lowered his shoulder. I thought he was very explosive in terms of getting out of his, his stance and getting up into the hole, very decisive running it. I just thought all around that Jerome Ford had his best game as a pro. I thought the offensive line had their best game as a run blocking unit. And it just, Kareem Hunt continues to have one role. Lower your helmet and get a couple of yards. Yep. And he did it for a touchdown. He did it for some first downs, and it's just like, and he's a hell of a pass protector. He had some good pass protections in there as well.
He's Leroy Horde. He's our new version of Leroy Horde. Coach, if you need 3, I'll get you 3, and a hell of a blocker and a hell of a teammate, man. And he's going to get in the end zone. He's like Leroy.
Yeah, exactly. I love the way you put it. If you need 3, he's going to get 3. He's not going to get 7 or 8, but he's going to get what you want him to get, And I think there's a role for that. I mean, he gets another. He's got 6 touchdowns now, like because they understand. Hey, I don't give a shit. Put Nick Harris in front of him as a fullback, and let's just lower the boom with Kareem Hunt. And it's just like. I'm so excited to watch this again, like the all 22. I'll get a chance to look at the all 22, probably not till Tuesday before I get the opportunity to watch it. But like, I really liked what Jerron Christian played at left tackle. I thought, oh my goodness, he's going to get eaten up. And of course he gave up a sack. There were some plays here and there, but him and James Hudson really battled. They really grinded. They were outmatched talent wise. Those 2 tackles were outmatched talent-wise, and they weren't total liabilities. And Jerome Ford really made it easier on Deshaun Watson in the passing offense because there was a legit threat, and they could not just tee off on the run either. Like it was like they would stack the box and they weren't stopping him. And then Deshaun started pushing the ball downfield, and it was like there was a complementary football on the offensive side of the ball for really the first time, it feels like, all year. And it was just like, if you can play like this, man, like this offense can score on anybody when they play like that. So for the offensive side of the ball, Deshaun Watson gets a ton of credit. He does not throw an incompletion in the second half. He makes plays with his legs despite an ankle injury that put him in a walking boot after the game. I think he'll be fine. I'd put him on ice till Thursday. He doesn't even need to step on the field till Thursday. Don't even think of it. Just let him go put him on ice. But I would be remiss if I did not talk about how good I think Jerome Ford played today and how big of a vital part he was in this offense, being able to go on that final drive and kill the clock before the kick. And
was key.
And that big boy, and I know what you're going to say because I know everybody's going to say, that run where the offensive line pushed him he pushed him like an extra 10 yards.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
David Njoku had a couple runs like that. I better not talk about Njoku. They fed Njoku, and Njoku after the catch, his yards after the catch, that's what the team's been missing all year. They're not getting yards after the catch. Njoku gets yards after the catch. And these guys they work their tail off. And I'll let you guys talk because I've been running my mouth here for long enough. But I am excited about. I'm as happy as I have been all year. This is a great team win, and I'm ready for. Is it Sunday yet? Is it Pittsburgh? Are they in town yet? Like let's get to it.
Yeah, I'm real happy with Ford. This morning, I wanted to see Pierre Strong more than Ford because I was not impressed with Ford. Ford, like you said, was patient and hit all the holes and was there at the hole as soon as he got the boom right in there. You know, he would get mostly positive yardage on almost every run he had. You know, I think there was a couple he was hit behind the line. But Kareem Hunt, like you said, compliments to him. Like they both compliment each other in a way, and that also complimented Deshaun. So then Deshaun is able to scramble without having to actually like fear for himself, and then gets these balls out, and then that opens up the running lanes that they exploited. And yeah, Ford played well. That's very good to see, especially with all these guys that aren't on the offensive line because they're out hurt. All these backups playing. There was no chance in hell of the running game going to be good today. Well, it was. That's an impressive running game against that defense on the road. That late run with all the linemen pushing. That's the embodiment of this team and what they've been able to do so far this year. And you heard Kevin Stefanski in the post-game speech say they kept fighting. They were fighting all there. They knew this game is way out of reach. Let's get closer for our kicker. And I said this morning too, and I said earlier in the week, whoever had the ball last with their kicker to get a chance to win the game would, and they did. And that run and the Njoku catch prior to that set that up beautifully. The Ravens called their timeouts thinking, all right, that's it. They're going to throw on third down. Nope, they ran the ball like they're supposed to, ran the clock out, called the timeout, kicked the field goal, game over. And that was just, incredible. And also on that, shout out to Watson for getting to Njoku. He played lights out in the second half. That's what we got. These games are what we got him for, as we've all known and said, and he showed out. It's not his numbers aren't going to flash off the page at you or jump off the page. They're going to, be enough to win in the fourth or in the second half. Doesn't have an incompletion. Fourth quarter, excuse me. After they tie the game or think they tie the game and they're still down, defense gets them the ball back. He's like, all right, cool, I got it. He has a nice little run when his ankle's all busted. That to me was like, all right, that Deshaun knows he's back. He's like, we might not see the Houston numbers, but we're seeing the Houston tendencies of playmaking.
Man, what if somebody told me that one team today was 2 for 8 on third down and one team was 8 for 16 on third down, and I hadn't watched the game, I didn't know. I would have thought for sure. We converted as many third down opportunities that they had all game. 2 for 8 on third down is just as good. We had 2 takeaways, but our defense doesn't get enough credit for the 3 and outs, or the stops on third down, turnover, field change, that's huge. And the thing that happened this week that has failed to happen, especially in our first game against Baltimore, though it was P.J. Walker, is we converted on the opportunities the defense gave the offense when they did create a turnover or have them punt on the punts. The offense took advantage of it. What was the one drive that was like ate up the whole third quarter? I'm thinking, that's great, fellas. It's the longest drive since 1994 or something that we had, or some ridiculous stat. And I'm like, that's great. It was a 10-minute drive, but we need the clock here. We need to score more, but it was a beautiful drive all the way down the field. And Stefanski didn't bail from the run. He just kept doing what he was doing, and it worked. They followed the process. They believed in what they were doing, and they moved the ball down the field and put it in the end zone. Where in the past, teams would crumble. Browns teams would crumble in that game on the road in Baltimore.
Now, one guy we haven't talked about yet. We talked about Ford had a good game, but I've never seen a guy have a memorable game and not have one catch. Cedric Tillman.
Oh,
that huge block was kind of a momentum or a tone setter almost. Like, hey, you're not going to come in here, Baltimore, and just punk us like you normally do. And then he came up with that huge pass interference call. Like he drew that pass interference that resulted in a touchdown. So for me, Cedric Tillman, he didn't get much in the passing game from him today, but damn, he blocked his ass off every time he was in there.
The one where he stood over the linebacker?
Yeah.
Well,
and the play's still going on. I'm like, hey, get to work.
Well, and it drew a 15-yard penalty because it pissed off Van Noy, and Van Noy was a little crybaby about it, headbutted Tillman, and we got 15 yards.
Drew the 15-yard flag on it, and then he drew the big penalty down at the goal line. You're right, man. Hey,
yeah,
you know,
I had forgot all about that hit for some reason, just because of everything else that happened. But oh my God, do you want me to tell you something that's funny when you think about the Browns' comeback? They had 3 drives in the second half.
Yeah.
3. That's
wow.
it. 3 drives, 2 touchdowns, and a field goal. That's it. That's all they had. They had 3 drives in the second half. And so if you only have 3 drives in the second half and you're down 24. What is it? They're down 24-9 when they get the ball for the first time in the second half, because
right.
you know, there's that big Odell touchdown. It's 24-9. They score a touchdown. It's 24-17. They force a punt, muff the punt, then a touchdown to make it 31-17. They get the ball back, make it 31-24. Then Baltimore throws a pick 6. Then Baltimore punts, and the Browns make a field goal. That is the second half in terms of. And now I want to talk about the defensive player of the year, Myles Garrett.
Mm-hmm.
I said this. We were doing a live stream on PSF, me and Casey Kinnaman, and one thing that I pointed out was that the difference on Myles has back-to-back sacks, and I know he only gets a sack and a half because JOK was with him on the first one, so he gets a half sack and then gets a sack. Those 2 plays took 3 points off the board. Mm-hmm. Right away. They pushed them out of field goal range, took 3 points on the board. We talked about this against the Colts, where Myles Garrett, his plays with his blocked field goal, his forced fumble, and his and other sacks in that game, he had a 14-point swing in the Browns, something like that, with all of that. So he gets another 3 points right here. That's the difference in past years between him and TJ Watt. And TJ Watt always comes up in those moments. TJ Watt will recover against the Browns, recovers that fumble for a touchdown. You know, Watt makes a sack with his helmet off to try to, you know, things like that, where Myles, I think, is a more talented player, but those big moments, he doesn't make as many plays until this year. He's made a ridiculous amount of those plays, and he does it again here. And you go and you watch it, and you watch, you know, Ogbo and Zadarius had a great game. Zadarius Smith was great in this game. And you see these other guys being able to really just flourish in this defense because of what Myles Garrett does. And it's not just that's those 2 plays where he sacks Lamar, gets him out of field goal range, takes points off the board, were so critical. Just because points are points. And at that point in the game, the Browns were not getting in the end zone yet. So they needed to keep points off the board so that they could get in there. But it's like, this is where a defensive player of the year is a game changer. He's got to change games. He's got to wreck games. He's got to do consistently. And Myles, every week you can point to 2 or 3 plays, even if it's not a sack, but you can point to 2 or 3 plays in that game where you're like, if I did not have that, I'm not sure they win that game. And I think that happened again with Myles today, where you can talk about a few plays where he took points off the board, or he freed up somebody else to take points off the board. And that's what a defensive player of the year is to me. And again, he goes out there, he's the best player on the defense yet again, in a game where a lot of players played really well. And it's just, if you go back and watch the All-22, and obviously I'll see what it looks like, but I always like to when they're on defense, I like to do one of my watch throughs where I just watch Myles Garrett. Like, he's on the field. I just want to see what he does for an entire game. If you go and you watch that you will really, truly, because some people just look at the box score, and I understand that. But if you truly just watch just what he does and then watch the domino effect of what the other people around him can do, that's defensive player of the year. And that's a guy where Jim Schwartz knows, like, I'm just going to move this guy around, and I got to worry about my other 10 guys because Myles will go and get his. I'm going to put him in a good position, but I don't have to worry about telling him what to do. Myles, you do whatever the hell you want to do, but I want you to do it from right here. And I'm like, oh, okay, and move around. And it's just such a weapon to have. And Grant Delpit was awesome again today as well. And it was just, I don't know, man. Like, you play like this against teams that aren't the Baltimore Ravens, and you probably crush them.
Yeah, and with Garrett, he gets double teamed at the highest percentage still, and he still has the highest pass block win rate.
Well, he's tied for the league lead in sacks with Daniel Hunter now.
Right. And like you said, he has the back-to-back sacks, and I tweeted out that, that's what players like him do in this moment to change the game. And while it didn't favor the Browns right then and there, it didn't, obviously the defense gained momentum from that. They played well throughout the rest of that game and, got the ball back and scored and, forcing the punt and got the ball back, and they went down and scored again and won the game. But Myles Garrett was all over the place. And I'm glad you said that. Somebody would have seen the box score. He had, 1.5 sacks. Well, it should have been 2, but how they do the scoring, JOK was there. So, okay. But that's still 2. I know it's a half, but, they're all a sack.
Yeah.
For me. But so he's there. And then he makes that play on Lamar on that 3rd down in the 4th quarter.
Ball back. I forgot about that. Well, how did I forget about that?
Darius Smith hits Lamar to slow him down, and Myles continues trucking down that sideline. Boom. Make sure he does not go anywhere else.
Yep.
And that was that. He makes those plays, and he makes the guys around him better. So there's times that Myles getting double teamed, and Lamar goes to step up in the pocket. There's someone right in his face, so he has to do his thing, or he goes down. And they had a few sacks today. They neutralized him and then made him make mistakes. And then they, like Roger said earlier, they took away his safety valve. So he didn't have that safety valve to go to all game. But he still was Lamar, so he was still doing his thing. But then there wasn't enough, They finally realized to press OBJ at the line instead of letting him go that little couple yards and then slant. So Myles Garrett is definitely the defensive player of the year, and I don't care what anyone says, because what he does for a game, you don't see this in the box score. And you can also see it. Everyone wants to criticize his leadership in the past. He was calm, cool, and collected. They give up a play or two here and there. He's just like, all right, cool, let's go, boom, and then they make a play the next time. So that is, like you said, defensive player of the year football. We still have a long way to go, but as of right now, I think he's the clear-cut favorite. I don't think anyone's really that close to him right now.
I can't disagree with that. I was hard on Myles ever since he got here, and it goes back to before he was drafted and with the thing with Jerry Jones. And I was like, hey, you know what, Ev? You don't want to come here. But, Myles is just he's just above and beyond anybody else in the league right now. But for this game, man, my MVP for the guy that gets a game ball for me is Deshaun Watson, because he needed to play good in this game. He really needed to lead this team against Baltimore, a division win. He needed this big time, and he delivered. A lot of pressure on him, I think. I saw him wiggling his arm out there after the throw to Cooper. If you guys caught that. And I'm like, just keep throwing. I hope it's all right. Man, he really showed up, and he led his team to an improbable win the way it was going all game. And they pulled it out. So my hat's off to Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, huge game for Deshaun in the second half. I'd also like to give a shout out to the Ravens offensive coordinator for just deciding they're not going to give Mitchell the ball anymore. Every time that guy touched the ball, he was explosive and making plays. And then he never touched the ball. Keaton Mitchell, he never touched the ball, but he had 3 carries for 34 yards. And they kind of stopped getting him involved. And anytime they'll give Gus Edwards the ball versus Mitchell, I'll take that all day long. So
right,
but just the way the defense bounced back, Myles is just a game wrecker this year, man. I've never seen a guy be able to bend like he does, like physically what he does with his body when he does that bend. He's almost perpendicular to the ground, and he's keeping himself still with leverage and power to be able to dip under that tackle. So few guys can do that. I mean, he's probably been the first one I've seen really be able to do that since Bruce Smith. That was how Bruce Smith. And Bruce actually worked with Myles a lot early on, so to kind of see that, and Myles definitely is the early on odds-on favorite for defensive player of the year. If he keeps playing the way he's playing, he's going to have it a lock for sure.
All right, well, I think we'll all have some more hard-hitting analysis for everybody on our shows this week.
There is one more thing I want to add, though, to this win.
Yep.
Not only is it a big win because we came into this game, it wasn't must win, but you had to win one of these next 2. Had to. Now they have a chance to go 2-0 in these division games and get above 500 in the division. with Cincy later on. So that win is huge. And like you said earlier, 81% playoff chance now. They have probably the easiest schedule in the division. Cincy and Baltimore square off on Thursday. Pittsburgh comes to town Sunday. There's a lot of good things that can happen for the Browns over the course of the next 7 days. And I think that gets sort of lost in this because we're all excited. And, yeah, we won. We beat the Ravens. But the bigger magnitude of it, the Browns are right there to just be elite contenders. They just beat arguably the best team in football for the second time this year. So,
yeah, that Baltimore-Cincy game is going to be interesting for sure because since Baltimore's coming off a loss and you got Cincinnati coming off a loss, I mean, Cincinnati's at the point where they can't afford too many more losses.
No.
I still, and like looking at the rest of the AFC, like I still believe probably all 4 teams might end up making the playoffs. I definitely believe 3 will make it, but very much possible that all 4 could make it because I looked at all the other divisions. Like with Buffalo slipping down, you might just be Buffalo and Miami, and then 4 from our division, and then the AFC South. I mean, it's Houston and Jacksonville probably, but the West is Kansas City.
Well, and right now going into today, Buffalo isn't in the playoffs.
Oh.
They were the 8th seed going into this week, and we'll see if they win tomorrow. And I don't know how all the tiebreakers stuff would go to know if they're going to be in the race after that. But like, I didn't even realize that until a little while ago. I had seen it right before kickoff for the 1:00 games that they were at the 8th seed at that point. So I don't know, man. It's going to be really fun. It's going to be Thursday is going to be interesting. I am really looking forward to that. Finally, a good Thursday night football game. And it's a good Thursday night football game in a situation where you don't really know. Like, I'm not concerned right now, by the way, about Deshaun Watson in a walking boot. We'll find out in a couple of days. I think he's all right. He seems fine. Nobody gave any indication that he wasn't, but whatever. Hopefully they don't whatever. Anyway,
I gotta plug it because we
yeah.
got Steeler week, man. We got the rest of the night to enjoy this, and we turn around. We got Steeler week coming up, and this week on Dog Chug, outside of Eddie's Victory Chug, he's gonna come on. We're gonna do a chug. We got 2 Steeler fans. We got the notorious ADJ from Twitter. He's a troublemaker. He's gonna be on the show, and another guy, Donovan, that actually he's a guy I know. He's a Steeler fan. They're gonna come on and make chug bets with Andy, and then we got a Browns fan in Florida, my brother-in-law, on Dog Chug for Steeler week this week. So catch that at 10:00 on Wednesday.
I like it.
All right, guys, we will talk to you all soon later this week. Lots of stuff coming out from us this week, so stay tuned to the YouTube page. We love you guys. Thanks for giving some of your time to us. Again today, go Browns. We'll see you next week.
Go Browns.